getting into it, so how did Winona Fighter even come to be? Like, what was the moment you knew that you wanted to form a band?
I've been playing in bands like all of my life, pretty much. Like as soon as I could join one, I did. And I think the real catalyst was I grew up playing in like the New England punk scene.
Okay.
Like I joined my first punk band when I was 12.
Wow.
And it was such a cool community and such a welcoming community. You know, we were these tweens and then teens, and we were always welcome. And like bands would invite us to play on their bills, even though they knew we were underage. So they would help like get us in, or we would play house shows or in churches. And um, it was just such a cool community. And for how like aggressive it is and scary the people are,
Yeah.
it always felt very safe and welcoming. And so when I moved to Nashville, I there wasn't really like now there's more of an alternative rock, pop punk, emo scene, but there wasn't really a punk scene, and I just kind of was like, well, I'm not gonna wait around to join a band because I was a drummer at the time, and I would just
Hmm.
kind of write and play and sing, like play guitar and sing on the side. But I was like, I want to be in a punk band. I want to bring what was so special about the Boston punk scene to the city. It's like a scene that I think everyone should know about, and I think that everyone could be a part of. So that was the real catalyst. And then when I met Dan, we had both answered a Craigslist ad for a different band that I was going to play drums for and him guitar. And it just was not the vibe. But Dan and I hit it off very quick. So I was like, hey, I started this project. I think we get along really well. We play really well. Do you want to like come jam sometime? And so then we just like became best friends and just DIY toured, played our hearts out, got our 1,000 hours, figured out what we are capable of really. And then I actually met Austin in Los Angeles and started playing with him or started writing with him. And uh, then eventually we all ended up back in Nashville, and Austin's schedule freed up, and we never really had like a determined bass player. So once his schedule freed up, Dan and I were like, well, you already write for the project, and you're like the best bass player anyone could ever have. So do you want to come play for us? And it's so like cool how natural everything happened and how naturally the band formed. And um I really feel like every show we play we're going back to what started it all, which was me wanting to build like this community and this scene.
I love that. So, okay, so you started at like joining your first band at 12 years old. How old did you start like playing instruments then? I mean, at 12 is that pretty impressive.
um I've been playing, like I started taking drum lessons in the third grade.
Yeah.
Um, and but I always like my whole life was like drawn to instruments. Like I got my first drum set when I was just like a few years old, and
That's awesome.
like my first piano that I would like kind of tap around on. But first started like really hitting it hard, lessons all the time, playing all the time in third grade.
Wow. I took drum lessons too and I'm terrible. But I always wanted to be a drummer. I think drumming's so cool and like the drummer's always just so cool.
It's good for the soul, man. It's like, I don't know, it just like gets you, no matter what like headspace you're in, it just kind of gets you into a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, okay, so then getting into just like, you started Winona Fighter. You guys are obviously a great group of friends. I think you can like really feel that through the music and when you guys are performing. obviously you and Austin have a different relationship, but you guys can tell that, at the core is friendship. And I think that really like radiates when you guys are playing together. So that's always a good feeling. Um, the name Winona Fighter, how did that come to be? And like, is there any, I guess, relationship to Winona Ryder? Like,
No, and I have to give Austin the credit, because we went by CoCo for a long time, and
mm,
it was just like always like it was fine, but it was like it wasn't like it was my band, but it wasn't a solo project. And I'm a very private person. We're all very private people. So it just like we when we recorded our first EP, we were like, okay, we need to like let's solidify the band name before we put anything out.
hmm
And I also think that's why like a lot of people think we formed in 2022, but that's just when we released our first like body of music, and changed the name of the project. And so yeah, I have to give the credit to Austin. Like we were like spitballing back and forth one night, and he was really interested in um the like band names that are kind of like a fun spin on something, like the Dandy Warhols or like Bill Murray, except it's spelled different. And um he mentioned Winona Fighter because it's like got a feminine but masculine thing to it, like sweet but edgy. And I turned it down at first. I was like, I don't know if I like that. But then the next day we were like writing it out, and we like kept kind of saying it some more. And I was like, you know what? I actually think that works perfectly for us. So we yeah, we went with it, and I like people either really love it or they really hate it. And I think that's fine. I think having discourse like that is fine, you know. Is there really any band name that is like everyone thinks it's the perfect band name? No. So it's like and that's kind of where we when we did decide on Winona Fighter, we were like, what are we like, you know, toying around for? Like, are we trying to please everyone, or are we just like trying to have fun? And we're like, we're trying to have fun. So
Yeah, I love it. I always like I always start to say Winona Ryder, and Stranger Things is coming back out today, and I'm
I
like
know.
it's always like, but I think it's I Winona Ryder I think is a lot of fun. And I think when you see your shows and you really start to voice your opinions on like political things or things that are going on with, women's rights and things like that. I think that brings a whole new meaning to Winona Fighter that's so important for this generation and for women in general, I think, to hear, because not to once again get too political, but it's something I think that we need.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay, so then getting into the album, my apologies to the chef. First of all, so fucking good.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm not trying to like overly, but I do really think it's a very, very, very good album. I didn't hear of you guys previously to Warp Tour, and so then when I found out you guys are coming to Warp Tour, I started listening to the album and was like, I could not stop listening to it. I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, you gotta listen, they're so good. And I've been telling everybody how wonderful you guys are. So I really, really do love the album. Um, can you tell me a little bit about how that album came to be? I know you mentioned you started writing and kind of was forming this project, and that's how you met everybody. But can you tell me a little bit more about the album?
Yeah, so the album, we had released our debut EP, Father Figure, and then we um I think the thing about us is we're always writing. You know, I know like a lot of artists these days will they'll like get an Airbnb somewhere for a week and like write a whole record and then record it. And I think it like if that works for you, that's great. For us, we're like we just want to be consistently writing and consistently working and honing our sound, honing our craft. And so um, the Father Figure EP is I mean, not the Father Figure EP, my apologies, the Chef is like all of those songs from, I mean, there are even some songs from Father Figure on the album. So it's like all of those songs where, we release this EP and the band kind of starts to like, I don't think blow up's the right word because we didn't like blow up, but gain like a lot more traction. And then so from that to the release of the album, it's like this growth of the band, and I think the growth of us as like songwriters and musicians. And so my apologies to the Chef, it was like, okay, like it's time to release a record. Like we are at a stage where it's like people want more music. It's like we've naturally reached that point in our career. And so we just picked like our favorite songs from 2022 until 2024 when we recorded the record, um, and made, I think, this like really cool project that very much symbolizes our like growth as a band, and our growth in the community and in the scene. And we're so big on DIY. We and people love to fight me on that. They love to be like, well, you guys are signed to a label and an agency, you got a manager. And it's like, yeah, true. I mean, isn't that the dream? Like,
Right.
don't you, like, if you want a career music, don't you want to, be able to form a team that just lifts you up? And that's what our team does. They know how DIY we are and how much we like to do things on our own. So we found a team who is just like lets us do our thing. And I think that was really special too, getting to do this debut record, how we wanted to do it and how we do things, which is in our garage by ourselves. And yeah, I think the whole process from the songwriting to picking the songs to how we record it was so natural and so us. And I think like that's what makes it like the perfect introduction to us, to someone.
Absolutely. So finding inspiration to write, I know you mentioned that originally you and Austin met and started writing music together. As far as finding inspiration, where does that really stem from at least your perspective there?
I write about everything. Like I think the only like, and it's not like off limits at all. It's just don't really feel the need to. Well, we don't like write love songs. That's kind of like it though. Um, I'm in the band with my husband, so it's like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I say my apologies to the Chef, like those songs are definitely like all like the human experience. Like they're all scenarios that I think everyone has gone through at least one of them. Like I think someone can listen to the record and be like, is this song about me?
Mhm.
Um, but that being said, like I think this next batch of songs we're writing is like a bunch of more like self-reflective stuff. And yeah, I think the cool thing about punk music is it's very like there's no limit. And I think it's, rooted in the present, like what's going on now and
For sure.
in your life or in politics or in the news. And so I really take that to heart. I'll sit down to write and I'll be like, okay, what's going on right now?
Hmm.
Um, and I think that creates such like a special thing. And it's like, with Wilburn Street Tavern, I say TikTok in it, and people on Reddit tear me to shreds. They're like, I think you're gonna regret saying TikTok in a song. And I was like, no, I'm not. Because it's like it's what when I wrote Wilburn Street Tavern, that's what was the thing was TikTok and and douchebags on TikTok. And so it's like, I don't think I'll ever regret writing about the present because that's, what I do, and that's like
Yeah.
what this whole um genre is kind of rooted in.
Absolutely. It's almost like a time capsule too,
Yeah.
like and I think music is still so nostalgic that way, no matter, what you're listening to or who you're listening to. I think, you can always remember like a time period. For example, you put on Blink's Take Off My Pants and Jacket, and it transports you to this like time period where that album came out and like how old you were and how you got the album and what was going on during that time. So I think that is also really special, like with music in general. There was a interview I was watching with Matt Skiba, and someone asked him, where does he find inspiration to write, and he goes, I just read the news.
Yeah.
And it just kind of blew my mind. I was like, oh yeah, that would be a really good place to start.
Yeah, I think there's something really special about like finding awareness in what's going on around you and outside of you, you know. It's not our songs aren't about us all the time. You know, like attention is about it's definitely about like my frustrations, but it's certainly not about me. I wrote it for everyone.
Hmm.
And so I think yeah, Matt Skiba's he's a fucking
It's a powerhouse.
crazy writer. Like
Yeah.
he's insane. Yeah, I think like just focusing on what's going on in the world, it gives you like enough to write about. And
Hmm.
I think there's something like very poetic about that. Like our like lyrically, my lyrics are very like blunt. Like me as a person, I'm very blunt when I talk to someone.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that's because, you know, not everything going on in the world is like some like poetic metaphor, whatever. Sometimes you just need to like say exactly what needs to be said.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, is there a I guess personal favorite song on the album that, well, I guess it can be favorite in terms of playing live or just favorite that you're like, man, I really love that I wrote that song.
Um, yeah, there's a couple. I would say um we I would say favorite to play live is Hams in a Glass. Um, because it's fun and it's very like universal.
Hmm.
Like, you can hear the crowd singing it with their whole chest.
I was just gonna say the crowd, I feel like really blurts that one.
Yeah. One song I think I'm really proud about is off the deluxe. It's called Don't Get Close.
Okay.
Um, I just I think that, like I said, like the record is very like situational stuff that's happening or has happened, and that was a very like self-reflective song. Um, and it was like definitely a very scary song to write because I was writing it about like my like self after coming out of an abusive relationship and um like how I, kind of self-sabotaged a lot of relationships and then, including my now husband. I wasn't always like the kindest to him because I was dealing with these like strong like post-traumatic emotions and yeah, it's and so like writing a song like that, showing it to the person it's about, recording it with the person it's about, playing it every night with the person it's about. It's like scary, but it's like so therapeutic. And I think at the end of the day, and same with I'm in the Market, like both those songs, it's like it's so therapeutic to now like play live. Um, and I think it like stays true to who we are. Like, how are we supposed to like cultivate a community and want people to feel comfortable with themselves and honest with themselves if like we can't do the same thing? So
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love that. All right. Well, coming off of Warped Tour, how was that? Were you guys like a fan of Warped Tour growing up? Did you guys ever go to Warped Tour? When you guys found out you were on the bill, were you like, holy shit, it's Warped Tour? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I've been to Warped Tour before. I think I went to one like the last Warped Tours before I
Okay.
came back. Um, it was like, and when I was a kid, I always wanted to go, but it was just always like, it was maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours from
Mhm.
where I lived, and I wasn't, you know, my mom didn't want to drive me that far. Um, it was extremely surreal. It's like one of those things where it's like, one, you're like, oh, great, it's gone. It's never going to come back again, and I'm never going to get the chance to see it. Because I was too, like, I was really young when it was around.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing. My mom wasn't going to just drop me off to hang out
Right.
at this like
So this
music festival.
concert in this parking lot somewhere in the
Yeah.
middle of nowhere.
But like I said, I was always in bands. So like Warped Tour was like the goal
Yeah.
for us. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, oh my God, if we can just like stick it out a couple more years and do the and be old enough to do the Ernie Ball battle of the bands and get the, the spot. And it was like when we got the offer, it was a very like surreal moment. And I think like it's it's interesting because it didn't feel like a nostalgia thing at all. Like I think
Mhm.
there's like a lot of festivals right now that are like such a nostalgia, like when we were young,
Mhm.
or like we did the Is for Lovers festivals a couple times that Hawthorne Heights put on. But the from like the offer to leaving the festival, it all felt so genuinely what it is.
Mhm.
It's like, oh my God, this is Warped Tour. Obviously, it wasn't like it was back in the day where it was like they went to every city and
Right, right.
bands were fucking, you know, just trying to survive. And but it was such a cool, genuine experience. And yeah, we're always nervous when we do that stuff because there's not I think, oh, there's a lot of very talented bands out there, right? A very lot of talented bands in the scene.
Yeah,
And I would never want what I'm about to say to be misconstrued, but there's not a lot of real raw bands out there right now.
I get
Like,
what you're
there's
saying.
not a lot of bands doing what we're doing at the level we're doing it. And by that, I mean, we play out of stage monitors. We don't have a click. We don't have tracks. Um, it is just like so raw. Like there's no auto tune or no like vocal effects and again, if you do that, that's great. Like put on whatever you think is going to give you the best show. But so we get like very nervous because we go up there and it's completely raw. And a lot of bands during the day, they have tracks. They have, it's like locked into a click. They have like the light show. So
Mhm.
you don't really ever know how people are going to react when they go from that to then like our set.
Yeah.
Um, and man, it was just like so emotional. Like people, I think, fucking loved it. And we got like a lot of like, that's what Warped Tour is all about. That's what it's all about, baby. And yeah, it was like it just like very validating for us. It's like, okay, like we went up there and we did us. We did Winona Fighter and it went over pretty fucking well. So it was just like such an emotional day and so surreal. And everyone was so kind and sweet. And, I do feel like sometimes when you feel like the outcast, you can get stuck in that mentality.
Mhm.
But it's communities like that that make you realize you can run with the big dogs, even though you do things maybe a little differently.
Absolutely. Yeah, we were supposed to have our interview at Warped Tour, but you guys like we're all over the place meeting fans and things like
I
that. So
know.
I
Thank
told,
you for adjusting your schedule.
oh,
It's
no, no,
we
no.
were like at a meet and greet, and we're like, I don't think we're getting out of here.
No, I totally understand. And like that's exactly where you guys should have been. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
thank
those
you.
people are there to see you, and although I'm a fan, I was there to see you too. But they're there, and that's, exactly where you guys should have been. Um, but I saw you guys after, and I just mentioned like you guys were my favorite set at Warp Tour. Like
Oh, thank
you guys
you.
killed it. I there was something very like special about it that, you guys can feel, but I feel like the crowd felt it as well. Anybody watching you guys, I think, felt that energy and felt that like, yo, this is something really special. So I'm really excited to see you guys again on Friday and feel that again because
I
it's
know.
it's
We
definitely something you
love
guys.
playing Chicago.
I'm very biased, but I think Chicago's one of the best.
I do too.
Um, okay, so I know we don't have too much time left. If you had this ideal festival lineup, who would be on there?
Um, that's a great question. We've been like very lucky, um, in the way that like we've gotten to do a lot of festivals, um, like in a lot of mainstream festivals, and we've gotten to play like with some like dream artists of ours. I would say right now, oh, that's so tough. I want to do like a festival with, I mean, the girls like Manic and
Mm,
Pussy and I'm on the Sniffers, Spirit Box, they're great. Hailstorm, they're great. I just saw Garbage.
oh,
The Nova Twins, they're badass. So it would be cool, yeah. Get all the girlies together.
that'd be fun for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, okay, so then wrapping this up, what's next for you guys? Are we looking at another tour? Are we looking at another album? What are we taking some time to ourselves because that's important too? What are we doing?
Um, no, we're not allowed to take any time for ourselves. And that's an us problem. No one's making us do that. No, we're doing this water parks tour,
Mhm.
and then we're getting home and we're spending some time in the garage and um lots of touring next year, lots of new music next year. We're very, very excited.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure the fans are very excited too. It should be a good year all around.
I think so.
Well, Chloe, I appreciate you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being flexible and rescheduling with
Oh,
us and taking the
thank you for
time.
your time. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll see you guys on Friday, and I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving if you celebrate, and hopefully there's lots of family and food and love going around.
Thank you. You as well. And we'll see you Friday.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.